someone was talking about, is it humility or pride in Moses when he goes that way? And I can see how it's both ways. Like there's a humility in like, oh, I can't do this, but there's also a pride in like, it's also like, and I noticed that in my life quite a bit, like this refusal of wanting to take on responsibility. And it's like, it's easier to not blast. And I don't know, it's not only about the blast, of course, but I have mapped it like that, like not wanting to, like, who wants to listen to me? And I think Dennis Prager said like, oh, I have to look up, I don't want to say it, of course, wrongly. He said, we want leaders who don't want to be leaders. And that's so true. Like most of the people who would be great leaders, they don't want to be leaders. And yeah, I think he said like 90% of people who are leaders, they really want to be. And that's actually one of their key faults, because when you grab that power, you're not going to do great things with it. And like even people who don't want to be leaders and end up there, there's a lot of temptation there. Power corrupts. And yeah, the last way out is like, okay, I don't want power then.
Right. Well, and I think the reason that is that you want people, the reason people don't want to be leaders, like the people who really would make great leaders, is because they understand the undertaking. They understand the consequences of misleading a people. And I think especially if you're pursuing a life of truth, of what's actually true, then that's terrifying, because you're going to be really confident where you think you've done well in identifying truth. But then, even I think you struggle with this too, which is interesting because you're not any, but maybe it's the feminine and I, but sometimes it can be hard to really be like, this is absolutely true all the time, because when you state that, there are people who are going to believe you. There are people who are going to believe you and they're going to follow you. And it's like, that's huge. You don't want to lead people astray. So I think that's a big part of like the leadership. And I don't necessarily think that's what Moses was struggling with. I think a lot of what he was struggling with was, like you said, he understood what he was up against too. But I think in general, when we're just talking about leadership, it's just, it's a huge responsibility. And when you know how much it's going to take out of you, I don't care if you're sleep last or blast last, that's intimidating.
Yes. And I wrote down projecting confidence. I do think that's also like what you talked about. Like I would struggle because I feel like I'm constantly questioning things, even the things I think are true. And then obviously when you're a leader, you can't just, I'm also acknowledging like, you can't just go into this kind of state of not knowing constantly as a leader, because then you have to project a certain kind of confidence. And I don't know what I watched. I was like, I probably won't remember what it was, but I was like, wow, these people are so confident. How are they so confident? I could never appear this confident. And then it's like it has good sides and bad sides. Like if obviously, we also need leaders who can project confidence and bring people on board. Yeah, the bringing people on board is probably also then a struggle. And that's what Moses also talked about, like the struggle of bringing the people on board. How are they going to believe me that I'm this messenger for, I don't know how it's worded, for Christ?
He says, who do I say is sending me? Because, the context is in scripture, the Israelites have been, it's a couple hundred years. They have been under slavery, tyrannical slavery for hundreds of years. And so they would have had a lot of cultural influences from, other deities as well. So it's not just like, who do I say you are, God, because I want them to know it's you. It's also like, how do they know it's not coming from some other deity, And that's really interesting, because I think we both map that point. Like God says that his name is. In Hebrew, his name is, and then, they talked a little bit about like the Greek context in the video, and that's where like the I am comes from. I am who I am. So it's just, God transcends description, which would make sense. You can't you can't, if we really believe, you know, that there's a creator who is beyond our understanding, he couldn't be named. Like, it's just, right? Like, even if you don't believe, you know, in the Christian Jewish God Yahweh, you still wouldn't, you definitely wouldn't believe or subscribe to that God if he could be described. That's really abstract, but yet true.
Yes, and then it maps to everything else as well. Like, I'm struck by how much then their interpretation makes me realize, like, I just wrote down the Tao that can be named is not the true Tao. It's the same
Yeah.
in other religions. And then even in my little, whatever it is, belief of the present moment stuff, like, what did you say? What is the, I have to look at God's name is. That would be like the present moment. That's what the present moment is for me. That's pure
Oh
being.
gosh, I love that connection. My Annie loves that.
That's like just the being in the moment. That's everything subsides there. And then there's true being and isness. And it maps to, and then even my, me, I don't know in what context I said it earlier about not caring about the words. I mean, it's kind of an invitation to let go of the words as well and just be.